Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hello, and welcome back to the show. I'm so glad to be back, and I'm also kind of giggling to myself because I feel like I said this exact same thing in the last episode, which was a couple weeks ago, of how it feels really good to be back. And then my body sometimes has different plans of what's going on. And so I feel like I really do mean that right now. This week is feeling great to get back into a more steady rhythm. And I just wanted to say thank you for those of you who have understood that this season has been just a little bit different to navigate and figuring out my energy, and that I really haven't felt like myself until almost this last week when I just hit third trimester. So I'm working with my energy and doing things, I think, the best that I can, and also have had so many reminders of, and maybe some of you can relate to this, but just how much sometimes my own expectations on myself or my own ideals or the way that I want things to go can create so much stress that doesn't need to be there. Do you know what I mean? For in this example of me thinking through, I really want to get back to being able to release a podcast every single week, and then realizing in the last couple of weeks, because of a lot of different things going on, launching and opening the Simply Real Life program. And with that, I've been taking on a lot more one-on-one clients through that program. So having 6 different one-on-one clients, plus running the group, plus doing these live weekly calls, plus actually opening up something I spoke about last time, which was this pilot group and mentorship program idea, that for the next 11 weeks, I am taking this small group of amazing women through. It's sort of like the next level after Simply Real Life, the method of all of the different energetics and talking through subconscious programming and energy and how much that has an impact on our health, and really getting so much deeper. But they're topics that for me have changed my life, but I have never taught them specifically. So in this pilot group, I'm really putting together all this new content and things that I want, I think maybe for future programs. And so it's just required a little bit more of my time and energy and bandwidth, which has felt so good. And it actually relates to exactly what we're going to be talking about in this episode, because I feel like life sometimes has a way of showing you exactly what you are working through and working with at different times. But all that to say, it's been very busy and fun. We did a little baby moon even last week, and that was such a nice time to give ourselves to actually think about this new baby coming into our family. Like, I really haven't taken a lot of time or space to be thinking through what that means and how much of a transition that will be, and the things that we can do to be on the same team, and just even talking through, like, okay, well, how do we think this will work? What do we need to do next? What things need to get done before we'll feel good about bringing more chaos into our daily lives. So it was such a nice breath of fresh air. And the first time I think that we really were like, okay, this is real. It's happening. And how are we feeling? Are there any nerves? I feel like usually when I have done any type of trip or time together, I think last time with June, there was so much else going on in our lives of moving and trying to remodel the house that we're moving into, and all of these projects going on, that I think it almost was 2 weeks before her due date that we're like, oh, we need to go do a night away somewhere locally. The last 2 babies that I've had, it has felt like so much more of a big transition. And this one actually feels like we have so much that's already set as our foundation in our lives, the way our lives are set up. And schedules and cadences. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of change, but it's less than it feels like it was last time, less things that are bigger in our lives changing. So that was nice to sit through and realize the biggest change we've got is that we're going to be transitioning June out of the crib into her big girl bed, and then also attempting to have the older kids share a room. So we'll see how that goes. It was helpful to talk through it all. So needless to say, I think between life stuff and that type of planning and finally feeling better so that I feel like I have this great energy and momentum to be pouring into my life's work, like into Simply Real Life, the method, and leading this group. It's truly my favorite thing every single year. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make it available more times than just once a year. So we're working through that kind of stuff on the back end too. And then also with running this pilot group. So that leads me to the topic of what I wanted to talk about today, because it's something that has just felt so real and so present in my own life, and something that I am reminded of is a constant part of our lives, especially if we have this desire to want to be growing in our lives. Like personal development, we know that we are up for the game of wanting to grow and wanting to challenge ourselves and wanting to get better and wanting to learn and wanting to not stay stuck or complacent and always doing the same things because it's safe. And so in this example in my own life has been this idea that I had on my heart to run this pilot group. And the amount of fear, the amount of resistance, the voices in my head that were trying to tell me that this was not a good idea, or that it wasn't the right time, or maybe I should wait till after I have a baby and after maternity leave and after things settle down. And this entire experience really does remind me of so many other things that I've done that I actually feel maybe the most proud of in my life. But all of those things have had this period of feeling this sort of resistance or fear or worry about the thing. In other words, thinking through something that was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be great if a dream that you have, or a vision, or something that when you think about the future version of yourself, or looking at your life and really sinking into the feeling of this is exactly where I want to be. This is exactly what I want to be doing. This is how I want my life to feel. Here's the types of things I'm focusing on. Here's where I spend my time and energy. Here's what I'm doing. And in those types of visions for ourselves, we oftentimes get these glimpses of something of like, ooh, that would be so interesting, or that would be so fun. Something about it makes us feel expansive and a little excited. And oh my gosh, what if? What if that was a possibility? What if that really happened? And then pretty quickly, it comes in like this waterfall of all the reasons why you can't, or why you shouldn't, or why it's not possible, or why that it's unrealistic, or how are you actually going to get to that bigger vision, and getting caught up in the steps of how that exactly would work, and how to exactly get there. So here's what I've learned. And I feel like this has been something that absolutely happened to me before I started my business. I mean, that's the biggest example I could think of. It's happened to me before I wrote both cookbooks. It's happened to me before I did my pilot test group of the kids and family recipes that I did last fall. It's this immediate influx of all this insecurity, or all these reasons why it wouldn't work, or no one would be interested, or that's crazy, or how's that technically going to work? It's getting caught up in these tiny webs of things. I think about that too when it relates to bigger picture things of even finding my partner in life, how much fear there was and uncertainty there was, and really trying to feel through my way of leaning more into that steady vision of what do I see and how does it feel, and being able to sort of trust that internal, like intuitive voice that we have. And I think that that's something that just over time, and now that I've had like decades of this practice, it's this recognition of every time I'm about to do something that actually feels so right, and like following my heart and following my joy and my intuition, it's always preceded by this time of fear or resistance or trying to talk myself out of it. All the reasons why it won't work or why I shouldn't do it. Even thinking through of wanting to become a mom or not. That was a really big thing for me to sit with and try to figure out. And not necessarily that I wanted to become a mom or not. I think I've always known that I do. It was what timing felt good. And I think there was a lot of resistance to change sometimes. So even from going from having no kids to having one baby, and then from one to two. And I don't have any resistance going from 2 to 3 because I think I've spent so much time working through that before even this process of thinking about adding to our family. But needless to say, it's something that now when I have the vision and I get that tiny bit of excitement, and then I actually can know and anticipate that the fear is coming and feel like it's normal and feel like almost to the point of like, all right, yes, there it is. Like, there's my edge. This is the edge of growth. You're kind of right on the edge of like where it really does feel uncomfortable to be doing or taking a jump or taking a leap of faith or trying something without knowing exactly all the details of how it's going to look or how it's going to work, and knowing that you can figure it out along the way, knowing that it's more important to just get started and go in that direction wherever you're being led or wherever you're being guided in some way, of trusting that voice over our fear. Because the way that our brains work is just a protective mechanism. Like, our brains always want us to be doing the same things. They want it to be predictable. They want to know exactly what to anticipate, almost down to the minute of being able to predict, because then our brains feel safe, that there's nothing that they have to be on the lookout for. So it's always scanning for danger, which is just, again, how we are wired as humans, which made so much sense way back when there were predators and animals and things that actually did threaten our safety. Feeling fear around true physical things is one thing, but the type of fear I'm talking about is the type of fear that is mental, where it's created in our minds, these scenarios and these visions, and oftentimes seeing things go the worst possible way. It's been so interesting that now, when I do get that fear, it's like, yes, this is the thing. It's like, this is the way, this is the direction to go. And I can tell that because I'm right on my edge. Like, I'm right on the edge of something that if I am brave enough to go forward and do, I know that there is something on the other side that I'm either going to feel very proud of getting through that resistance and busting through my own fear, knowing that it's just normal. It's always going to be there. It's never not going to be there. It will always be a part of doing something that feels exciting to you, or that's growth oriented, or pushing you forward, or getting you out of your comfort zone. It's always going to be a part of it. So seeing it almost as this good sign that you are in the right direction to keep moving forward, even though you feel or can sense or you hear in your head all of these different things going on, trying to hold you back and keep you small and keep you the same and keep you exactly where you are. But what's the fun in that? Really? Like, what is the fun in that? When you think about your life overall, are you going to look back at your life one day and be like, I'm so glad I stayed the same. I'm so glad I never did anything that made me get out of my comfort zone. I'm so glad I never tried anything new. I'm so glad that I just always kept it comfortable and easy on myself. And maybe for some people that is an answer, but for me, I know that that's not an answer, and that's not how I want to look back on my life, of letting that fear really stop me from doing the things that I know are on my heart for a reason. And I think maybe this comes into the bigger picture of what you believe. I really do believe that we have these desires on our heart for a reason. There's usually some reason why we're even thinking about something. It kind of goes with the bigger vision that you have for your life, and what are your dreams, and how do you want to feel, and what things and actions can you take now that would help you move forward in that direction of getting closer and closer to how you want your daily life to feel. And this is in all different areas. This can be in your personal life and in your relationships. It could be with family. It could be with your work or your career. This could be in so many different things, with your health or with your physical body. If we just stay stagnant That's how our brains will be happy. And so knowing that's really the two options, right? You stay stagnant and you let your brain wrap its full protection around you, or you say, I know this is a very normal part of leaning into growing. And sometimes it's not even about the end result, it's about you taking yourself through this process of feeling uncomfortable and uncertain and totally not sure how it's going to pan out. We have no control really over the outcome. All we have is control over ourselves in the moment of being willing to put ourselves out there. And so much of this, I just keep coming back to the word brave. Like, you have to be brave with your life. You have to do things that make you feel uncomfortable, because those are the biggest times that you not only learn about who you are and what you're like when things get a little tricky or a little tough or more challenging. Who are you in those moments too, not just when things are feeling really easy and perfect. And I think the more that you can learn yourself inside and out in every different type of situation, what you need, what your typical responses are, what your patterns are, how you typically react. This is all stuff that I love teaching and going deep on, both in pilot groups and one-on-one and Simply Real Life, the method. It's so much about learning yourself better because you carry yourself all through your life and through every part of your life. So if you know that you're getting these feelings or emotions when you even think about doing something that you've never done before, or that's a little outside the box, or has a lot of fear attached to it, finding ways to almost celebrate that and celebrate the fact that the fear is there. You can thank it for being there. You can thank it for trying to protect you. And then you say, but I've got this. I've got this. I want to try this. I'm going to do this. And it's a really great chance that when you hear all those voices coming in, right, of worst case scenarios or what if, or I'm not good enough, or this isn't for people like me, this won't really work out, starting with those thoughts, being able to trade them for higher vibrational thoughts of higher energy. What if it did work out? Have you ever thought about that? Spending your time and energy. What if it did work out? How would that feel? What would that mean? What would that look like? And that gives you so much more to hold on to, staying in that visionary state versus getting so sucked into the details and the practical that sometimes we just swirl around in that endless pool of questions and unanswered things and things we're not sure of, and waiting until the perfect time, until we're ready or until we find out more, versus letting some of those higher thoughts just take us and lead us through. It is some of the most uncomfortable work that you will ever do. But I also feel like every single time I have done that or felt that feeling, there's either something massive that I learn about myself in the process, or it's being brave and then look what happens and how your life opens up when you are able to be brave with your life. How many more opportunities, maybe different people that you meet, your confidence in yourself, your ability to know that you can do hard things and you can do things that feel uncomfortable. And that creates a deeper sense of self-trust and a deeper sense of confidence in all that you're doing. And so I feel like the more opportunities that you have in your life to feel that feeling of fear and still go for it, to see it as the directional sign that is pointing you in the right direction of where you want to go, that it's not an obstacle. It's like something you're waving to on the sidelines as you go. And normalizing that, I think, would be so helpful, which is why I want to really talk about it today, is that it's so normal. And I think anybody that you would ever look at and say, wow, like that's amazing. They really go for what they want. They put stuff out there. They're not worried about it being perfect. They just go and live their life that way. They feel so much fear and resistance and insecurity too. It's just they don't let it stop them. So that's just something I've been thinking about and deeply experiencing and constantly reminding myself of, that this is a good thing. Like, this is a way that I do want to live my life, that I'm not afraid to do things. I'm not afraid to try things. I'm not afraid if they fail. Who cares? You get to decide what that means about you. But every failure is not really a failure. If you learn something, it's not a failure. And you will probably learn something deeply about yourself that will help in some other circumstance or life situation, or learning how to pivot that thing that you are trying to do, and knowing that if it's not this, it's something better. And truly believing in that if you're following these little pings and you're following the things that light you up and make you excited and the things you dream about and have in your visions, there's no way that you can go wrong. No matter what the feeling is on the inside, it will always be there. I hope that this is something helpful to think about. It's something I constantly feel like is happening in my own life. And every time I do, it sort of surprises me. You would think after all this time, after all this proof I have, that doing those types of things that really put you on your edge are always so worth doing, the things you feel the most proud of. Even after seeing the track record of it, I still have these moments of, oh my gosh, what if? Getting caught up in these details that don't matter and remembering that. So I hope it's helpful to hear, and also to be reminded that we all go through that, especially if you are creating your life in a way that feels very intentional to you and very aligned and very on par with what you're wanting to create. This is just a part of it, and it's a very normal part. And the more that we can talk about that and normalize it, maybe the less people will get stuck in that in-between zone of wanting, wishing, hoping, maybe one day, but never actually taking action, never actually taking any steps forward towards that, never actually putting themselves out there, never being brave, never trying new things, never feeling uncomfortable. So many people get stuck in that. So I hope this is a good reminder. It's a great one for me, and it's something so fresh on my mind right now. But I just wanted to share that in case it does help with any. Okay, I love you so much. Thank you guys for being here. And if you have any thoughts, comments, questions on this episode, come over and find me at Simply Real Health on Instagram. We'll see you back here next week. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.